Okay, so hello and welcome everyone to session 3. So in this session, we will mainly focus on the OFDM technology. So before going to OFDM, before understanding OFDM, let's talk on the point that why OFDM? Why do we need OFDM? So to answer this question, we have to see some older technology because there has to be some minus points of some older technology because of that OFDM came into picture. So one OFDM, one older technology is frequency division multiplexing. So let's talk about it a bit, and then we will see what are the minus points of this technology, so that which can be uh, achieved or which can be mitigated by OFDM. So why do we need OFDM? Doesn't FDM fulfills all wishes of a communication system? Yeah, come let's find out. So what is OFDM? So to transmit data over a channel, we need some frequency bands. This is a very basic thing. And these frequency bands are also known as channels because if we look into any specifications or anything, some frequency chunks are known as channels. So it is like this, that there are different frequency bands, and let's say we can call them as channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, something like this, and so on. There will be multiple channels based on their frequency allocation. So those frequency bands should not overlap with each other, because ideally, if we look into this, that then we will always think that these frequency bands should always be mutually exclusive, or they should not overlap. If they overlap, there will be interference. There will be interference in them, because they are non-overlapping. Multiple users can operate simultaneously using different channels. So, for example, we can assign channel 1 to user 1, channel 2 to user 2, channel 3 to user 3. This is very simple allocation. Okay, there is nothing complex in this. Just do one-to-one mapping of a channel to a particular user. Okay, so that was not very technical details, but a high-level overview that how how FDM looks like. Then what are the applications of FDM? So Bluetooth is one. Bluetooth still uses FDM. GSM, our 2G technology, it uses FDM and TDMA. So different channels can be assigned for downlink and uplink also. Like when we mentioned that there are different channels, so it can be assigned to downlink or uplink. Similarly, it can be assigned to downlink or uplink. Only one of them. So this is yeah. So a guard band also has to be provided between two adjacent channels to rule out the interference, because when there are multiple channels, if we just put them coinciding with each other, ideally on paper it looks all okay, but practically it is not, because there will always be some leakage onto the nearest frequencies. So that's why a guard band has to be provided between two bands to rule out that leakage, so that leakage won't affect the adjacent band and won't create any interference. So this is something about GSM, that in GSM, the frequency range is divided into downlink channels from this frequency to this, and uplink from a particular from 935 to 960 megahertz. Okay, and on top of that, those frequency bands are again divided into multiple channels of 200 kilohertz interval. So this is just to emphasize that in GSM, we have different bands, different channels. Okay. Yeah, now let's come to the main point. What are the disadvantages? So performance degradation in presence of frequency selective fading. Okay. So this is a new term. What is frequency selective fading? Let's talk about that first. Okay. So till now, we were assuming that whatever signal I am passing to my channel, or whatever signal I am transmitting through the channel, on the receiver, I am getting the exact signal. This is a very simple thinking, or ideally, it looks very true, or it looks fine. So if we look this from a digital communication system point of view, so how it will look? This is my signal. So channel, we can say that it is a, we can assume our channel as a digital communication system. So it can be something like this. Okay, this is a digital communication system and it is my channel here. So this is my transmitted signal. This will be my received signal. Okay. In that case, the channel response, I can assume it as a, I can say it as an impulse response also, if we only look in terms of our LTI system. So when we say that I'm getting exactly same transmitted signal on the receiver, we can say that the channel response is a ideal impulse. Okay. So in that case, I will get exactly similar thing. So let's say this is from B1 to B2. I'll get like this. Okay, this is transmitted signal. This is channel impulse response or channels response, whatever we want to say. And this is a receive signal. Okay. But this assumption, this particular assumption is not valid everywhere, that a channel is a single impulse. Why? Because practically we have something known as multi-path fading. We will talk about it as we go further. But for now, I'll just give you a high-level overview. That multi-path fading, what it means that when in a wireless communication system, the transmitted signal from a transmitter till it reaches to the receiver, there is not a single path. So in this particular case, where we have assumed that it is a single impulse, we can say that it is reaching to the receiver through a single path. But practically, there will be multiple paths like this. It could be reflected from a building, it could be reflected from a vehicle or any tree or something. So there will be multiple paths of a same signal which is reaching to the receiver. This is known as multipath fading. So if I draw this, from this concept, if I want to draw my channel's impulse response, then there will be multiple impulses. Correct? Multiple impulses, obviously with some different delay. So let's say different delay. So 0, tau 1, tau 2, and so on. And obviously there can be different amplitude also. Let's say A1, A2, A3. Okay, fine. So now let's again come back to this. So what is the frequency? What is the Fourier transform of an impulse signal? It is a
constant.
Yeah, constant flat line in frequency domain. So that's why if I look this picture in frequency domain, what is this? It is just multiplication of this signal and a flat line. So that's why I was saying that I'm getting exactly similar signal in frequency domain. Okay. Now, what will happen in this case? Instead of a flat line, it will not be a flat line in frequency domain, this particular channel. Let's assume that it will be something like this. Fine. Now, what will happen to the transmitted signal? Let's see. So what we have to do now? Let's say this is my transmitted signal. I have to pass it through this. So the transmitted signal, so let's assume that this is B1 to B2. And yeah, for simplicity case, let's assume that our channel bandwidth or channel's response is also from B1 to B2. We will talk about it more as we go further. Okay, so in that case, the transmitted, this is transmitted signal, this is channel. We have to, we are talking in frequency domain, so we have to multiply. So the received signal shape will also be changed. This is a received signal. Okay, so here we can see, that my the transmitted signal shape is distorted. Okay, and this is not a correct reception. In that case, we know that this is distortion. So if the spectral shape is not similar, we cannot recover our signal perfectly, or we have to put more efforts to recover the signal. Okay, so this is actually when the received signal's shape is distorting. This is a frequency selective fading. Why we are saying this as a frequency selective fading? Because only some parts of the frequency or the bandwidth are distorting. Other parts are, these are all okay. So there are actually some conditions. So let's say if I say my signal bandwidth by Bs and channel bandwidth by B suffix C. So there can be two conditions. Okay, that my Bs is less than equals to Bc, and another is Bs greater than Bc. Okay, and usually when we characterize channel, we say that sometimes we take the tapered part also into the channel bandwidth, sometimes we do not. But let's assume that for this case, this is the channel. So or practically all the channels will be like this because there will be multipath components. Okay, so let's see for this case. Let's see for this case. So I'm representing the channel by yellow color. Choose red for. So in that case, let's say that because my signal bandwidth is less than channel bandwidth, so let's say my signal is something like this. Okay, this is Bs, this is B suffix C. Okay, so in that case, at the receiver, I will the transmitted signal's spectral shape will not distort. I will receive it as it is. So this is a perfectly fine case. And this case is not frequency selective. We can say that it is a flat fading case. But yeah, flat fading is easy to recover. Okay, it is not a big problem. But frequency selective fading is a big problem. Now for the other case, my signal will be something like this because the signal bandwidth is greater than channel bandwidth. Okay, so in this case, at the receiver, the signal bandwidth or the spectral shape will be distorted. Okay, so this is frequency selective. Okay, so this case is a problem. This case is okay. Okay, and because in frequency division multiplexing, we do not have much control, or we cannot play with the signal bandwidth. So that's why the frequency selective fading is a problem here. And we will see when we look into the OFDM that we can actually play with signal bandwidth. Any questions still here? How is the channel bandwidth determined? Actually, it depends on multiple factors. So as we said that your channel is characterized by multipath fading. So that is one way to determine the channel bandwidth. Like when there is a multipath channel, we calculate one parameter known as delay spread. Okay, so that delay spread is based on how many multiple paths we are actually taking into account and what are the RMS delay or the maximum delay. Based on that delay spread, we calculate one parameter known as coherence bandwidth. I will not go into those parameters into much detail, but yeah, from the delay spread, so delay spread is calculated by number of multipaths and their delay. From that, we will calculate the delay spread, and from that delay spread, we will get to know the coherence bandwidth, or loosely that coherence bandwidth is your channel bandwidth. Basically, that coherence bandwidth is the channel bandwidth for which the shape is flat. Does it answer your question, Sonia? Feel free to speak up. There is no problem. You can chat. You can put the questions or chat, or you can also speak up.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. So disadvantages of, when we were talking about the disadvantages of FDM, so it has lesser spectral efficiency. because has to be a guard band between two adjacent channels. And in OFDM, yeah, so this is one comparison. We said that in FDM, two bands cannot overlap with each other, but in OFDM they can. And we will see that instead of even after the overlapping, they are not interfering. We will see that. Yeah, another disadvantage is that we said that when there are multiple channels, this is allocated to user 1, this is allocated to user 2. So one channel is occupied only by one user. Therefore, if a user is transmitting or receiving low data rate, then it is not utilizing full bandwidth of the channel. For example, let's say I have been allocated, let's say 1 megahertz. Okay, so let's say that 1 megahertz is sufficient to download a particular video. But instead of that, that user is only doing some internet surfing or internet browsing. So in that case, the required data rate is lesser, obviously, and that the lesser data rate can also be supported by a lower bandwidth. So that's why we said that if its required data rate is lesser, then if we allocate a larger chunk of bandwidth, then it is not utilizing full bandwidth. Okay, so in that case, the flexibility is lesser. So it is not utilizing the allocated resources to a full extent. But in OFDM, you may be knowing that we have the concept of subcarriers there. So based on the required data rate, we can calculate multiple or varying number of subcarriers to a user. So that flexibility is there in OFDM. Yeah. So to answer the question that why moving to FDM, we know there were two main disadvantages, that there was a degradation in frequency selective fading, and it has relatively lesser spectral efficiency.